Oh,
Greetings, programs. Hello, hello. Oh, we beard stroking today? Let's beard stroke today. Yes. Yes.
yes.
Good morning, Manny. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing okay. You know what? The beard stroke, that sort of thing. I've realized that I'm not sure if that's like just part of like a nervous tick or something. It's just something I do, and I think I do it too much. So I'm gonna like keep my hands away from my face.
I don't think you do it enough. I think the beard stroke is a valuable part of our society. That way we can indicate which of us are thinking, and which of us are evil. Which is very similar. There's a very slight tweak with just the eyebrow. Thinking, evil.
Yeah. I feel like I've got enough tells. People already think I'm a villain for some reason. We're gonna leave that one alone.
I mean, you brought that on yourself, sir.
Uh,
Before we get into it, because we have a lot to talk about today in this 30-minute window in the morning. What are you drinking today, Manny?
I am back to what we did on day one.
Oh.
We've got the orange pico tea. Remember
Right.
that little conversation? Yeah. I needed the caffeine hit, and orange pico is a good high caffeine beverage.
Nice.
Not
Is
as much
that
as coffee though.
is that a Live Laugh Lore mug?
Okay, so I was guesting on Live Laugh Lore, and then I also broke my mug, and I needed a big mug, and then I found this one that is actually Live. Whoop, let me just get that on camera. Live Laugh Love,
Oh.
right?
Okay.
But the cursive is so bad that it might as well say Lore.
Yeah, I dig it. Yeah, good.
So
good stuff.
I got to debut this mug when I was guest hosting with Jin and Allie, and that was great.
Nice. Ooh, small spoiler alert. You might see Jin sometime soon on a show near you for season 4. Yes. Good morning, Kevin. Hello in the chat. We are here today, gang. I'm also drinking what I was drinking yesterday, which is the Just Us Atlantic blend. It's delicious. I live in Atlantic Canada currently. That's what we're drinking. We had some real talks last night, Manny, Anjali, and I did, about the potential of moving to another country. So, I suggested Cadiz, Spain, or Lisbon, Portugal, because I love both of those places. They're amazing coastal towns, right on the water. Like, history is wonderful. Cadiz is the oldest settlement in, I want to say Europe, but definitely Spain. Probably not Europe. So it's the oldest settlement in Spain, the oldest city in Spain. It's like it feels like this cozy pirate town. I love Cadiz so much. And it's actually, the cost of living there is quite low. Now, Anjali suggested Colombia or Argentina, where the cost of living is significantly lower than either of the places I suggested. Yeah, so we had some talks about it. We're going to explore the possibilities. I'm hoping some of our European friends can convince us that Cadiz is where to go, and hopefully we move, soon. It's yeah, we'll see.
I've been recently speaking to a Spanish native. Actually, they're not living in Spain, and it's just like, man, props for some parts of Spain. Politically, Spain's in a really weird place right now. So,
yeah, I didn't look at any of that. I just looked at how beautiful the towns are.
Yeah, no, that beauty is timeless. Where the wind is blowing right now, it's just like it's all over the place. I mean, that's the kind of the story of the world right now.
Yeah, maybe I should have a look at some other details other than what spots have great beaches.
True enough. But that just means I've got to visit you while you're still within the same national borders.
Yeah, you have to. Nova Scotia and Ontario, and I guess I just doxed both of us for everybody. Are very close.
Ontario is so large; it's larger than multiple European countries combined. Come track me down.
That's true.
That is not a challenge. Don't do it.
We could also arrange to meet somewhere in the middle. I love Montreal.
Doesn't seem so in the middle. That seems way closer to me than you.
It is way closer to you, but if we were to go to the actual middle, it's like Edmundston, New Brunswick.
True enough. All right.
Nobody wants to go there. Oh boy. Have you ever considered living anywhere other than Canada?
Yes. Then like definitely I have considered going back to the UK.
Hmm.
To be clear, I was actually born in England and
Oh,
then immigrated to Canada.
no
So I've
way.
got like my dual citizenship, yeah. Um
So if you and I get married, I would get citizenship in the UK? That's
I
a
think
yes.
that that's a yes. I think that's a yes.
All right. Noted.
I don't know with the current government, they're very much against anchor things. There's this like entire,
Mm.
especially well, whatever.
It's not that kind of show, folks.
Not that kind of show.
I did not realize you were from the UK. That's crazy. I thought you were Ontario born and bred.
Yeah, no, I've been to a couple of countries and been like, oh, this is beautiful. But considering where I would want to live, like, there are places outside of Canada. Um, there was a point where it's like, oh, do I really want to relocate to like the States for a job and all of that? And it's just like, man, sometimes. I mean, but hey, talking about beauty, sometimes in the States they've got some very beautiful scenic places. But see, now you're considering stuff other than the beauty.
Yeah, the population. I'm considering the population. We're gonna move on. Yeah, Manny's long pause at my proposal is confirmed. Yes, we will let you guys know when the date is. We'll be registered at the Blizzard shop for all of our wedding gifts.
It'll be Jaina wedding cakes hoppers.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, just two Janas, or maybe a Tuskar and a Jaina.
There we go.
Excellent, Manny. Yesterday we talked about the legendary and the drop rate and how it feels and if we are all legendary or any of us legendary. And I guess Blizzard watched because last night there was a change. You want to talk about the hotfix?
Yeah. So last night, Kyvix went onto the forums, put out that they had made a change that worked retroactively that significantly boosted the effects of that bad luck protection system, the embers and such, so that a lot of teams and a lot of people suddenly, when they killed for Act this week, got their legendary. In fact, you were saying it was multiple people on your team. Tell me about that.
We had one person who ran LFR, I think. Pre raid night. Heroic is our like heroic clear raid sale night. So and legendary farm night, I guess. Although that's over now. We had one guy who ran it pre, and he got it on the I think it was LFR he ran, and then in the raid we had of the four who were eligible in the raid, four of them, no, three of the four got it who were eligible in the raid, and they were all people who have killed it every week on heroic. I think the one who didn't also has killed it every week on heroic, so it wasn't like a guarantee if you have killed it every week you got it. Yeah, we got in total we got 4 out of the 5 that we were missing, and one of them is on a holy paladin, so he wasn't like missing it. He didn't have it.
Yeah.
And it was really exciting. A lot of excitement. Everybody was super hyped, and then we like our guild has already as soon as the mats were made available, our guild put aside mats to create a legendary for everybody on the raid team. So it was a sort of a fun race of doling out those mats and then trying to optimize who's going to give our super bloom buffs to who to maximize those. The one who got it in the afternoon has already completed his quest, and one of the 3 from last night, I believe, is finished as well. But yeah, it was an exciting moment. It was sort of like a big hey, yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad that your team had the exciting moment. I'm glad a lot of people had their exciting moment. People in my raid also were like, "Oh, sweet, let's work on the quest and stuff." And so we had like everybody trying to catch the embers in between bosses and such. It's great, but like on the flip side, it's like, okay, so I guess we're not doing heroic clears anymore for that, because like what's the point? Like the
Right.
chase is over.
Yeah, that's a great point. That there were a lot of teams that were continuing to do the heroic skip for chances at the legendary, and also there are a couple of like high value trinkets from that Smolder on Farak grouping. If you're not that a lot of people want and are after, and it sort of feels like, now I know our team won't, but it sort of feels like for a lot of teams with this many legendaries being available so fast that a lot of those optional farm nights are now going to disappear and just be done completely, which sucks for people who are still chasing a trinket.
Yeah. I guess we need bad luck protection guaranteed to get trinkets on the super rare, because I don't have my pips yet. Come on, Blizzard, where's my bad luck protection? No,
You don't have pips still?
Okay, my team has run. Not only do I not have pips, but I've been there every week that we've cleared through heroic, and pips has never dropped for my team. Right, and we've just never seen it drop.
What?
Right, so it's not even like I've been bad at rolls or anything. It's just the only people on my team that have it are because they got out of the vault, or when you did the, like, this week is the time walking, right? And you get a heroic thing out of that, and you can get pips out of that if you're lucky. And that's the only reason that people on my team have pips. It just doesn't exist for us on the loot table, apparently.
That's crazy. You sound like Wochi. Wochi had a real hard time getting it as well.
Wochi got it.
Yeah, I think he pulled it out of his vault, though. I don't think it was a drop, but after he got it in his vault, it dropped the very next kill. So story checks out. Yeah.
All right. Maybe that's what I need. I got to get it out of this week's weekly, and then it'll start dropping for the team, and the team can be happy.
Yeah. I love it. There's one thing I wanted to talk about in that blue post by Kyvax that I think is important to highlight. Two things, actually. One, that they had shifted to a philosophy where your character feels done, which I totally vibe with, and I get. My warrior on NA feels done. The last thing left is Mythic Farak. We get that done, and it's checked off. But like as far as gearing goes, his prot spec and his arm spec are both, like, they're done. There's nothing I need. The character feels done, and that feels good to be able to say, okay, I can just shift him into maintenance mode. And the other thing that I wanted to highlight is, and then get your feedback on both, is that even with that being their philosophy, it says like they've heard feedback, players are frustrated, so we're going to make a change to the philosophy that we had to make this to relieve some of that perceived stress and tension from the player base. How do you feel about both of those things? How do you feel about having in the season your character is done? And this will tie in later on to something we're going to talk about. And how do you feel about, obviously, I know you're going to agree, but how do you think Blizzard's response time has been with listening to feedback?
I mean, to address the, like, character being done. In general, I think that there needs to be, like, a balance of stuff, because, like, there are people who, like, love their alts, and the fact that you can get your character to a point where it's like maintenance mode and then focus on those alts, that's great for them, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that sort of progression should be good. There are people who have limited time, and so not having to constantly chase to make sure that you've gotten everything, and you can never really be finished, that's also great for them. So for that reason, I believe overall this is the best decision that they can make, right? Mm-hmm. I also agree that legendaries should be an exception to that. I don't think legendaries should be part of your best in slot. I think I said that exact thing yesterday when it was like, legendary shouldn't be on your best in slot list. It should be like a aspirational dream where it's like, hey guys, I've got a budget. Let me just write in that I won the lottery here. It's like, no, that should never be part of your planning. And I do want to say that this does not mean that the legendary is guaranteed. Even in the post itself, it says that we want to give those players a surer path, right, to achieving their goal. Not guaranteed, not sure path, just more of a chance of achieving their goals. So I'm glad that, like, a bunch of people are getting it. 4 people getting it in one night on your team is amazing. We had like 2 people who, I think actually one got it before the reset and one got it after. So 2 people were working on it last night with my team. And I think that is great. I think that's good. But I also know people on my team, and obviously there's that one poor guy on your team. I think that is actually the worst case scenario, where
Right.
everybody around you is dancing around with their shiny new flame axes, and they're just being like, why does Blizzard hate me?
Yeah, exactly. What Blizzard? Why? Blizzard? Why? How do you feel about their response time? In general, I guess we could say response time to community concerns or specific to this one.
Yeah. Okay, so specific to this one, I can't have a complaint against their response time because I genuinely don't feel like this was needed.
Mm,
So this is like a nice bone for people, but I think that Blizzard will have an idea, they will play it out, they will listen to feedback, and they will respond. If you guys are upset that they listened to feedback and responded after they made an initial decision, I don't know what to tell you. So, is it should this have happened? Like one post was like, "This is like 3 months too late. Like it should have happened like from the get go." No, I don't think that's like a legitimately well
yeah.
reasoned response, right?
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be like I didn't get it the first week. Wah! It's like that's not really something. Um, should it have been like a month and a half ago? I don't know. Like it's one of those things where it's like this is not a game breaking thing. People
Mhm.
have been completing the raid. One particular person or a group of 4 out of 20 um, raiders having this axe, right?
Mhm.
Isn't going to suddenly skyrocket you to cutting edge if you're only like, let's say, 4 out of 9 mythic,
Mhm.
right? I think my team's actually 3 out of 9 mythic, so we'll say 3 out of 9 mythic. Um, and I So I don't think that this is like a good one to say like, oh, is the response lagging?
Right.
And I think that in terms of like Blizzard's general response time, I think that they've been a very, very proactive about their communications
Mhm.
these days. Um, like the other thing that people are giving a ton of feedback about is the hero talents, right? And
Mhm.
Blizzard is putting it out before alpha. We're in pre-alpha, right? And Blizzard's
Yeah.
putting it out there to get the responses. Some of these responses, they're hot takes. They're like they may be more spice than substance, but
Mhm.
there are takes out there, and I think that that's amazing versus before where it's like, yeah, this is coming out and we don't care what you say. There was a hashtag pull the ripcord in response that I don't get to this, but in terms of like going back to Shadowlands and them being like, yeah, no, it's gonna be fine. You're gonna be locked into this. We don't care that one might be more performing to the next, and you're gonna make this like locked in decision that you can't change. Um,
Yeah.
and then eventually they're like, okay, yeah, you can change covenants as much as you want, and they finally made that change like end of Sanctum of Domination or
Uh,
midway through Sanctum of Domination.
yeah, it was far too long. When it happened, it was far too long. As somebody who enjoyed multiple different avenues of the game, Mythic Plus and rating, and having different ones be better in each, I had to choose. That was not a great time for me. Um, but I think in Dragonflight as a whole, I think the response time typically has been fairly good, and I do think they're getting better towards it. And I also wonder how much their hands are tied. You know what I mean? I don't. None of us work for Blizzard, so none of us know like how much of a response time are they allowed to give, how much communication are they allowed to have, stuff like that. There's got to be some limitations, I think. And the bigger the company, the greater the limitations. Those slower things happen, which is something I learned very much while working with a lot of government agencies.
Oh yeah, and like you don't have to believe us. You had Josh Allen used to
Hmm.
be right there as one of the front of line CMs, and he said like it's a big ship. It takes a bit to turn to make
Hmm.
that turn. But it's not like they're not reading like
Yeah.
all the forum posts and stuff and collecting that data. And even if they're not reading it themselves, which is a team of people reading it,
Hmm.
they've got like all this sort of like stuff that's like scouring for like customer sentiment and that and agencies and bots that do this stuff. Like you post, more likely to not, your sentiment has been aggregately gotten to them, and even if they don't do a direct response, right? They've got that info.
It's like in my head. I mean, obviously it's not like this, but in my head, it's like there's like the WoW player base emotions is like the sea, and they're tracking it, and all this data is somewhere in a file, and you can see like the numbers going up and down between positive and negative, and yeah, and I wonder if they have forecasts like, okay, this is coming out, we should expect to see an uptick in this sort of response. And in my head, it's like the analysis of the WoW community player base is a full-time job on its own, and it very likely probably is. But I want to talk about, we're going to segue here. I think this is a good segue from Kyvax's post about having, the philosophy of we want your character to feel done, into something I wanted to talk to you about specifically because it's something you do. Manny, how do you play other games without feeling like you're cheating on Warcraft?
Oh man, like I sleep like a baby when I play when I play other games in World of Warcraft. Like, yes,
Okay.
we're at a point where Dragonfight really allows it. You can feel somewhat done with a character. You can have the amount of gear and the options to get that gear kind of dwindle out. Like at this point, when I am running my Mythic Plus, I don't care about the end of dungeon loot. Right? When we're doing a heroic reclear, it's like one boss, and I'm like, come on, Trinket, please drop for me. Stupid fairy dragon, why can't we be friends? But like the vast majority of it, maybe I'm looking for some transmog. Maybe I'm just trying to like make sure that the Great Vault is set up, because the Great Vault is like the big thing. And so yeah, like the amount of like Mythic Plus that I run, the amount of difficulties of raiding that I run has dwindled. And in that time, we get towards lulls before the next patch comes out. I spend time either doing other things in WoW, and that was like, oh great, let me do my mount collection and stuff. And now I've really ballooned that mount collection, and that even I only have particular things that I can do, right? And now I get time to play my other games. So like while we were talking about like, oh, do you have an army of alts? Like, guys, go back, YouTube. You could find all the past episodes, not just from me, but from all of Sean's other guests on Recruit a Cup. But these conversations, they all work into each other. So make sure you do check those back catalogs. But like we were talking about earlier, right? You don't play an army of alts. I don't play an army of alts. I mean, like, of course, you have like multiple characters on multiple different things, but like you get them up to a point, and then you're like, okay, let me go through on this. So it's easy enough for me to be like, yeah, I'm gonna play some DBD because I want to play some DBD with my friends and not feel like, oh, I've missed out on this reset's chance for one thing or another. It's easy for me to play like Fortnite. Which I know Wochi is pushing on people like some sort of Italian drug dealer. It's a little scary, guys.
He really is. He really is. He's like, Sean, you should install Fortnite. It's free. You'll play with us. You'll have fun. You'll be angry, but you'll have fun.
Yeah. First match is free. Just have a taste. Have a taste.
Yeah, first match is free. I struggle with it, man, because I love other games. I love console games. I love other games in the Blizzard universe. I'm a huge fan of Final Fantasy, so I really wanted to play through a lot of Final Fantasy stuff that was coming out. And even like Baldur's Gate 3. I love D&D. I love turn-based games. I love CRPGs. And I started playing, and I just, every time I was logged in, I was just like, I could be standing in Veldrak and doing nothing right now. Which is what I inevitably do. I log back into Warcraft, I stand in Veldrak, and it's like, okay, we're in Veldrak.
Okay. Like, part of what helps me is that I can second screen a lot of stuff in WoW that might be like standing in Veldrak, and it's like, I need to like fulfill 2 work orders for the week to get that done. And I can just sort of like be like, okay, I'll have the chat window open here, and look at me, I'm working. Please work. Do not look at this podcast. Yeah. Right.
I should try that. second screening Warcraft, just being logged in Veldraken and standing there, so I'm still engaged. That definitely feels like an addict's response, though.
I mean, I used to do it in the opposite way, where it's like, okay, I want to play Warcraft, but what I'm doing is I'm waiting for a rare to spawn. So I would have Warcraft, and I'd be like, I want to play Warcraft, but mana, it's just waiting for something to happen. I guess I'll put like streaming. I'll watch like Purple Pixels when she streams, and I'll have that on, and she'll be doing like pet battling or leveling an alt or something, and I'll be like waiting for this rare to spawn. I'll be like, how you doing? And then half type message, oh, the rare spawned, okay. So like, yeah, second screening WoW works both ways, and for some of the less active stuff, you can do stuff that way. When I'm watching TV, right, and it's just like, you have TV on in the background. I could split between one screen WoW, one screen The Expanse or whatever I'm watching.
Yep. Shadow just continues to eat her foot beside me, and it is insane. Hopefully the viewers can't hear it. I promise.
I can't.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I'm not working on the set of the most disgusting films you've ever seen. Shadow, please stop. Yeah. So, all right, I'm gonna give it a try. I'm gonna try side screening Warcraft and playing something else. See how that goes. We'll see how that feels. I'll give it a shot. Manny prescribed medication for my Warcraft addiction.
Just wean yourself off of it a little bit.
Yeah. I feel like we should talk about this topic because it's in the thumbnail. But I also feel like maybe we need more time for it for tomorrow. So we'll touch on it now, maybe get some initial sentiments, and then maybe we could do a deeper dive tomorrow. Raid buff matrix. Now, this is something I am quite passionate about, and I'm wondering let's get initial surface thoughts on the raid buff matrix. For those who don't know what the raid buff matrix is, there are different bonuses that certain classes and specs bring to your raid team. And currently, at this point, to be the most optimized, you have to juggle in. And I think they eat up 14 out of 16 slots, or 14 out of 20 slots on a raid team. Something like that. It might be
roughly.
Might be 16 if you go, because there's a couple you want to like double up the class on. So between 14 and 16 slots on a raid team. Manny, what are your initial surface level thoughts on the raid buff matrix?
Okay, there's got to be a healthy medium, because there's two competing things here. There is bringing the player, not the class, which they've done the like extreme on, and there is, I want there to be a reason for me to be included in the raid team. And I think that you have to hit that medium. You can't have somebody who's out there and it's like all they do is bring damage, because they won't make the cut if they aren't bringing the most damage or such a significantly high amount of damage that feels like compulsory.
Yeah.
I also don't want like 20 out of 20 slots like figured for me, because like I need to bring these buffs and I can't. I give up too much damage. Last night in Mythic, we brought a not a very undergeared 470 something priest, and they're like, "Why did you bring me?" It's like, yeah, because we wanted the stam buff. I'm sorry, you even if you're dead on the ground, that 5% to everybody else is worth it, and that's a weird place to be.
It's there are some players for whom, if it wasn't for the raid buffs they brought, that they might not be on teams, though. If it was all entirely skill based, there are some, like, there's always going to be players that fall behind in skill. So then you run the risk of like somebody who's, say, I want to pick one. Let's say a Demon Hunter. You have a Demon Hunter main, and all they do is play Demon Hunter. They play Havoc. Whether or not Havoc is good that season, they play Havoc. They bring the Chaos brand buff, but they're not as good as some of the other players on the team. And I guess in this case, it's the same way. The players who are better feel like, hey, I should be in, I'm better. This person's only in because they bring a buff. But that person might be like, or if their class is poorly tuned,
So like there's a give and take on that. It's like, one, that player has decided to do nothing but Havoc.
Right. Yeah.
So like if they wanted to bring, like, let's say they're like, you have two players that are relatively same ability, right?
Mhm.
And one is bringing a mandatory buff. Then, like, yeah, the person who's bringing the mandatory buff gets an edge, right?
Mhm.
Let's say there's two players at a relatively same difficulty, and one guy doesn't bring the buff, and he gets benched and says, "Oh, the only reason that other guy came in was because they brought the buff." Well,
Right.
in both cases, right, you could have switched to a different class, right?
Mhm.
And there are times where like that team has a Vengeance Demon Hunter, and hey, sorry Havoc guy, we don't need your buff. You're actually not bringing anything that we need because it's
Right.
redundant. Havoc's in a bad spot, so guess what? You're benched, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just it has happened, and it happens a lot when you play those classes that do bring the mandatory buffs. It's not even that like, hey, I've got a mandatory buff, so I'm good. It's that, oh, a couple of people are playing this class, so now I'm the fourth druid, I'm the third wheel. Like, do I
Right.
actually get a spot here? And
Yeah.
it's like, I guess a battle res might be something. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't want to say I'm pro buff matrix, but I like the buff matrix. But we'll talk about it tomorrow. We'll let you know tomorrow why I like the buff matrix. And it's not because it lets players who aren't as skilled be on the team. It is for a very different reason than that. But yeah, I will talk about tomorrow why I like the buff matrix, because I do enjoy it from a outside raid lead looking in point of view. Maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow. Manny, this has been great. It's been 30 minutes. Today flew by. Hopefully, we don't have any more news topics tomorrow that eat up our delicious segments like we did today. Yeah.
Well, you know what's going to happen is that Blizzard's now going to listen to this and they're going to completely change the buff matrix.
That's
And
right.
so there we go.
That's right. Here we go. Scrolls for everything. Perfect. All right, gang. If you're here, thank you so much for hanging out with us, spending your morning with us. Hopefully, you're enjoying your coffee. We will see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube, and as well on Manny's channel at True Villain Manny on Twitch. We'll see you later.
Later, guys. For everybody on my channel, I'm going to be switching over and we will continue to stream just a little bit.